3 months of leave, I wouldn't help. Now I just drain, so yeah, no, I mean, I don't really. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jason Whittaker. I'm one of 11 grandchildren, veritably doted on by Shirley May Whittaker, along with Catherine, Vivian, Evelyn, Michael, Alicia, Stephanie, Rochelle, Christopher, Elizabeth and Charles. There are now 17 great-grandchildren: Hiram, Malachi, Jacqueline, Elijah, David, Faith, Harmony, Xander, Leah, Jet, Olivia, Lila, Clay, Jared, Charlotte, Matilda and Samson, with another who could in fact arrive at any time during this service. 3 children-in-law, Barbara, Sharon and Mark, were nurtured as much as Shirley's own, Leonard, Tony and Beth. And of course there is Charles William James Whittaker, Charlie, Pempa, who nary slept a day away from her side in 62 years of devoted marriage. Welcome to everyone, family and the many friends who could join us today. I often shared thoughts and stories of Nanna with my friends and colleagues who thoroughly enjoyed her sometimes garbled Facebook entries and homespun sayings. My favourite, one I cite all too regularly, is when you sit down to dinner and the meal is perhaps unwanted or perhaps underwhelming. It fills a hole, Nanna would say. It fills a hole. I like that saying because it reveals what I perhaps admire most about Shirley Whittaker, who we lost with abject peace on Boxing Day. That is an almost ruthless pragmatism. Perhaps it is generational. Perhaps it is the country upbringing. Perhaps it's had something to do with doctors telling the littlest Victorian she may not make adulthood. Shirley got things done. School, marriage, work, motherhood, dinner. Every problem had a solution. There was love in abundance, but sentiment only where absolutely necessary. She even died with little warning and no fuss, practical to the end. And we can be very grateful for that. She herself, of course, filled a bloody big hole for many of us. There will, as a result, need to be some sentiment this morning, but we'll be brief and keep any fuss to a minimum, which I think she would have wanted. We'll start with a prayer from her daughter, Beth Hilliard.
On behalf of Mark, myself, Alicia, Christopher, Andrew and Matilda, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our friends for their help, support during this time. We have been overwhelmed by the calls, the messages, the meals, and in my case, knowing how close to come. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's the most sincere, overwhelming thing that we have felt. This prayer I chose because it said what I wanted it to say. Broken chain. We little knew that morning that God was going to call your name. In life we loved you dearly, in death we do the same. It broke our heart to lose you. You did not go alone, for part of us went with you the day God called you home. You left us peaceful memories, and love is still our guide. And though we cannot see you, you are always by our side. Our family chain is broken and nothing seems the same. But as God called us as God calls us one by one, the chain link will link again. I'd like you to join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen.
Now from daughter to son, a brief history of Shirley's life from Tony Whitaker.
Thank you, Joseph. Just before I do, just before I do, I look around the faces and I see sadness. You are now all put to the point, no more sadness. Because I can't handle it if you do. And when we look at a funeral, we say it's a celebration of life. Mum would not want it any other way, would she, Errol? And she had a lot to celebrate. She did. So let's make it a celebration. In my brief history, I'm going to refer to my mother as Shirley, because if I put Mum in there, it'll bring me undone. So I'm not that... Shirley was born in Bunyip, Victoria on the 13th of May 1935 and lived with the family at Cora Lynn until she was 4 years old. She was the eldest of two children to Rita Cox and Michael Sweeney, and brother to Dennis Sweeney. At the early age of 1, Shirley was diagnosed with Pink's disease, which went on to cause many serious issues throughout her life. Doctors predicted a lifespan of no more than 50 years. But she defied them and exceeded all their expectations. In 1939, she moved to Warragul, then to Murray, where her father was working at the Southern Electricity Commission, or the SEC. Shirley started school in Murray, but due to her ongoing illness and the need for further medical treatment, she spent a brief period living with her grandmother in Caulfield, where she attended the Caulfield Primary School. She finished her schooling at the Yallourn High School. At the age of 17, she was swept off her feet by our local lad, Charles William James Whitaker. Is that right? And they married on the 21st of November 1953. 3 children followed: Leonard in 1954, Anthony, or Tony. Mum was the only one that ever called me Anthony, and the tax man. In 1956, and Elizabeth, or Beth, in 1960. As a wife of a truck driver, logger, bulldozer, service station operator, and there's probably a few more that I've missed, Shirley matured